Okay, so I think... I'm wondering. I am going to get this down to, say, 2 billion meters, I believe. 2 billion. And then when we get to 2 billion, or maybe 1.5, uh, we'll cut the engine, and then we will head over there, and then we're going to extend our apoapsis out as far as we can go. Conceivably. Uh, you'll see what I mean when we get there. Yep, I will join you when we're ready to make our burn somewhere else, I guess. Alright, we're approaching 2 billion meters. It's getting... I think it's actually getting harder and harder to lower this, because we're using more and more fuel. We should be getting faster as we use more fuel, but I think to get a really low periapsis, you need a fair amount of fuel, and we're down... This big tank is almost half gone, so that's 1/3 of our fuel gone, and it's going to take a bit of fuel to actually increase our apoapsis as well. So as soon as we get to 2 billion, or perhaps... Yeah, we're very close to being halfway down this tank. So when this gets to about halfway, I think we're going to stop, and we're going to head over to the periapsis of our orbit around the Sun, and we're going to burn from there, I believe. I'm not entirely sure the best way of going about this, and this is just for fun, so mistakes can happen whenever you have fun. So, yeah, what we might actually have to end up doing is extending our apoapsis, and then there, bringing our periapsis down, and then extending the apoapsis again, and keep on going back and forth. As opposed to just doing it all in one go. Again, don't know if that is the correct course of action, but we are going to try and stop this dead on. Almost. Exactly halfway. And we were burning for a solid 20 minutes from the surface of Kerbin to 2.5 million meters away. We have finally stopped our engines, and we are going to be passing 2.4 million kilometers from the Sun. We're going to get much closer than that later on, believe me. In the meantime, let us head towards the Sun. Haha! We're this close to the Sun already! We have been traveling for 24 days, and we are this close to the Sun. It is really bright, so I'm going to look away from it. Never stare at the Sun, kids. It's really, really bad for you. So we're about an hour away from reaching the periapsis of the Sun. Now this is where I want to start doing a little experimenting with maneuvers. So we want to increase our apoapsis from the Sun, and only burning for 1 minute 53 seconds extends out pretty far. For 4 minutes. 5 minutes gets us up to there, which is almost the same orbit as Joule. And if we keep on going, it starts erupting in size. This is going to get ridiculous. I mean, look how far we can go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's see how far we can go here. Oh! So, if we burn for 6 minutes, we will escape the solar system. That's not what we want to do just yet. But look at this. Thousands. Hang on. Thousands, millions, billions, trillions. So that's 6.5 billion kilometers away. And if we were to go there, it would take 68 years to get out just to the apoapsis. And the fastest you can speed time is like 100,000, but that basically makes a day passing it every second. So 68 times 365, it would be several hours at full time warp to get out to that position. I didn't expect that. So there's no way we're going that far out. So what we're going to do instead, I think we're going to do it to a year. because we don't really need that high of an apoapsis, I think. Or maybe 10 years. No, we'll go for the middle. We'll go for 5 years, okay? So 5 years. Let's get this down to as close to 5 as we can get. Oh, a little bit over. Almost there. Oh, we're off by a day. Oh, here we go. 5 days, 5 hours. 5 hours, 5 years and 5 hours, I should say. At a height of 1,000 millions, 284 million kilometers. Okay. So that's that's a long way away. 5 years. I hope you packed your snacks. But look how fast we're traveling already. 27 kilometers a second. And that's just from this orbit here. Just imagine how close this orbit's going to be, how fast we're going to be traveling. Actually, not that much different. That's kind of something I was realizing when I was doing this, is that if we got the periapsis down there, we wouldn't need to go all the way out to the apoapsis and change it, because we'd actually be traveling as fast out, because the physics work differently in this game to the way they work in real life. But we still have to get an extra 2,400 to get out to that apoapsis so that we can bring our periapsis down. And do we have enough fuel to burn for 6 minutes? Once we get out to the apoapsis, we're not going to need that much fuel anymore. So I reckon we will burn off the rest of this tank. So let's get over it. We're an hour away from the periapsis, so let's just bring this down to here. We overshot it. It doesn't really matter here, actually. It's not that big of a deal. But what we should do, let's check for science. So, we've already got that. Dang it. Because we're still in high orbit around the sun. Mystery goo. Are we able to get anything from that? A little bit, but we can't. We're not retrieving it, so any science we get here, we have to transmit back. Science Junior, did we have one of these the last time we were out here? We could get some, but not enough to transmit. Alright. Thermometer. This is going to be slim pickings on the science front. Oh, we're too far away from the sun to get a temperature scan. Alright. There is one thing that's new, is this gravioli detector. Let's toggle the display. We're too far from the object. Damn. Oh, hang on. Ha! Gravity scan, well high over the orbit of the sun, 220 science. And we can transmit 88 of that. Alright, now we'll keep it. But we're going to do something to it first. What we're going to do is... we'll hang on to it. We're going to do our burn first, and then we will show off this sciencey stuff. So let us burn. Yep, and let us try and get this apoapsis increased. It's already accelerating up nicely. It's going to take a while, but that's a really long way. And let me do some quick math here. Let's get the calculator out. I just want to see how long it's actually going to take me in real time to get out there. So, where's the calculator on this phone? Bam, there we go. Right, so 5 times 365, so that's 1,825 days. So each day translates about a second when you speed warp. That's going to take me 30 minutes to get out there. And it'll probably take about 30 minutes. That's going to be an hour round trip. Okay, we're not going as far as 5 years then. We're going to tone that down a bit, because I'm not going to sit here for an hour doing that. Let's bring it down to 2 years. I hope the crew is thankful for this. I have just shaved 8 years off their journey. Despite the fact that they're not coming back. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, you know what? Forget this maneuver. We're just gonna use this to tell us when to stop. I would absolutely love to get these guys out in EVA right now, but considering the ship is under acceleration, they might fly off and be stranded here. So, I will finish burning here. See, our speed is increasing ever so much. I think it was like 2,000 or so that we needed to increase it by. And let's get a different angle. I want it to make it look like we're flying just on the edge here. So that we're doing a handbrake turn around the sun. There we go. That's a bit better. So yeah. Excellent. So I will cut here. I'll come back when this burn is done and we have our new ridiculously high apoapsis. Not as ridiculous as it was before, but still ridiculous all the same. Engines have ceased firing. We are now at an apoapsis of 2 years and 2 hours in time. It's going to take us a long time to get there. And that's an apoapsis of 152 Googleplex meters. What is that? 152 trillion? I don't know. It's a big number, okay? It's late and I don't care. So, it's a really long time for us to get out there. And we have achieved 29,340 meters per second. So that's our current record. We're going to beat that when we come back around. We are down to about a quarter of our fuel. This stuff lies. It says we have a slither of fuel left. We actually have a quarter because each one of these bars basically is saying it's for each one of these engines, and the engine thinks it's talking about this fuel tank and this fuel tank is at its disposal, when actually only a quarter, or technically an eighth of this fuel tank goes to each engine, and about half of this goes to that engine. So that's why that thinks it's running out of fuel, but actually we have more than that, because each of these is over 3/4 full. So the arduous part now is for me to wait to get over there. But before we do that, we took a reading from a gravioli thing. I think it's there. Possibly. One of them anyway. But we're going to transmit that off. And we're actually going to use this mobile processing lab. So what we're going to do... Bill Kerman, EVA please. There you are. So let us detach. Turn on your RCS. Turn on your lights, please. There we go. Huzzah. And we're going to head over. This is a nice ship, actually. I really like the design. It's not as pretty as the last one, the Duranial Land Skyforce 17 or whatever I called that thing. But I like it all the same. Grab the very conveniently placed ladder, and then jitter about and board the processing lab. So we just moved him in the ship, and we're gonna send Bob in there with you. Something I should have done, actually, is taken an EVA report, which would have netted us nothing. Alright. Let's get you over there to join Bill in the processing lab, because we're going to try this thing out finally. I've never really seen a use for this except for a mission like this, where I know that I'm not going to come back. But theoretically, the only missions that you would expect not to come back would be probe missions. But this processing lab has to be manned by 2 Kerbals. So let's review the stored data somewhere. Where is it? Where is that gravioli detector? Maybe on the other side of the ship. Not that one. Not that one. Oh, it must be this side then. This one? Oh, there we go. Review data. Right. So this is what this thing can do. I want to get that open too, because I want to see how much electrical charge this takes. So we have 88. If we transmitted this, it would net us 88 science. But with this, we can increase that value by 20%. So let us do that. It takes electrical charge and a fair bit of time to do that. But we've got plenty solar panels on here and a decent amount of batteries. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. It takes a while, especially because the gravity detectors actually net you a fair bit of science, so it's a lot to process. Oh, this is taking longer than I thought. I wonder though. So this is processing that. When that's done, it will tell us how much science that will be worth when we transmit it again. So I'll come back when that's done. And apparently Time Warp does not speed this up. Amazing. Alright, it's done. And the graphical interface has glitched out somewhat. Probably because I tried to speed up time. But now, it's worth 132. So we get over half of what we would get if we actually recovered this. So we're going to transmit this thing back. Now what this will do though is this will render that thing inoperable. And we already have the things extended, so it starts transmitting straight away, but it takes a ton of electrical charge to transmit it. So wait a minute. I was going to demonstrate something. Let's demonstrate it with a mystery goo, I think. Okay. So let's just use this. That's going to take a while. So let's just keep the data and let's just transmit it for the sake of transmitting it, because yes, if you transmit data from the mystery goo or the Science Junior or whatever, it renders that experiment inoperable. But we're going to do that. We're kind of wasting it, but whatever. So things like the gravity detector and the thermometer, they're like multiple use things. You can just take multiple readings off them. But things like the mystery goo and the Science Junior, those ones are like single use, essentially. So you keep using it until you have a experiment that you want to keep. And once you have it, that's it. If you transmit it, you can't use it again, or you can just recover it instead. And you retracted. I don't want you to retract. I want you to stay extended, please. Extend. There you go. Stay out there. But this thing is dead. That's a shame. Except, let's do this. Aha! Clean experiments. So this thing can basically bring our mystery goo back to life. So it's cleaning it now. It uses a fair bit of electrical charge, but not as much as transmitting it, apparently. So these two guys are in the process of cleaning this up. And once it's all cleaned, ta-da! Can use it again. Anyway, so Jebediah is in the pilot seat. These two guys are in the much larger thing, which unfortunately you can't see the inside of, which is a shame because they've got all these big funky windows on the outside. But yeah, so we're not really close enough to the sun to get as much science as I want, and it's going to take about 4 years for us to get closer to the sun. So what I'm going to do now is fix the camera. There we go. And I'm going to sit here for a long time, and we're going to speed this up as fast as it can go. It looks like we're making a lot of ground here, but as soon as we get into about here, we're going to start slowing right down. How fast are we traveling now? We've already lost over half of that speed, and it's dropping fast. So, yeah. I will be back once we're at the apoapsis, I guess. Well, after a long, arduous journey, we have come almost to a dead stop. Well, 513 meters per second. We're still traveling pretty fast. However, Kerbin orbits the sun at 9,200 meters per second. So that's the speed we started at. So we have changed our speed in orbit around the sun by about 8,500 meters per second, which is a lot, actually. We've come to a stop. We have a maneuver set up, and this maneuver, if I can get the camera over here. God, we are so far away. I'm not even sure I can even see the periapsis. There we go. This will bring us in to 20,000 kilometers. I mean, we can probably fix that, but it's really, really, really sensitive here. We'll probably fix it when we get down to here, but we're gonna have some fuel left over because this burn will only take 39 seconds to bleed off 2.4 billion to 20 million. So we're almost at our periapsis, but we really need to. Well, let's do this right. Let's do this proper sciencey stuff, you know. Alright, we're almost there. And let's just see how far away the sun is. Oh, look how tiny the sun is. We can block it out with our ship even. It's pitch black, but it's still illuminating us, which is amazing. And the ship is currently rolled the wrong way. I don't really care. Well, it's not really rolled in any particular way. It doesn't matter. 755 days. I hope they brought a decent music collection. Not to mention a lot of oxygen and food, but they don't need that, apparently. Anyway, we're just going to burn. But we're going to burn quite slowly. We're going to highlight that. Because we might actually be able to get this down closer than the maneuver will let us. I've already quick saved out here, so if we screw up something, we can make some changes. In fact, this maneuver might actually bring us to a dead stop. We're close enough to it. Not fast enough, let's go. Let's speed up more. 30 seconds on this burn. I didn't even check I was facing the right way before I started burning. It just so happens that I went. In fact, since takeoff, this ship has been facing the exact same direction. I've rolled it, but I haven't changed where it's facing. This ship is just going. Okay, we're gonna have to slow down in a minute. We're gonna try and get this as close as we can, because we want to get as small a periapsis as possible. Now, I have actually been to the sun in a previous mission. But it wasn't. It was before I started recording Kerbal Space Program, so I don't have the footage of it to show you. But I did learn something from that, and that is you can get really close to the sun. In fact, when I did it before, I actually got. Oh, actually, that's 50,000 meters. I'm too far away to do this. I think. Because look, I'm moving it. I'm just going to tap throttle very, very lightly now. And look, that's changing it in the hundreds of kilometers. So I guess we're going to have to try and get down to 1,000 kilometers. And then we'll do something later on to try and get that lower. Because we're probably going to end up crashing into the thing. Also, we'll probably have to make changes because the navigation stuff in Kerbal Space Program is so glitchy, and especially because we're working at such massive distances right now. It will probably change anyway. Cut the engine. See, look, it's glitching out by like 12 kilometers, and we're not doing anything. Turn SAS off. That might help. I don't know. But we've cut our engines. So we're coming down to about 800 kilometers from the sun. And from my experience before, we can actually... I got as close as 15 kilometers from the sun. And nothing happened. So we can get pretty close. And we're going to find that out pretty soon. Well, I say pretty soon. we're not going to get there for another year and 245 days. Now, in fact, I'm going to quick save here, because this is where we have an option. We have two choices, and we might explore both. The first one is we just sit here and do nothing and wait, because we've actually got more fuel left than I thought. That weight reduction seems to have done a very good amount for us here, because before I would have run out of fuel already, but now we have 2/3 of each of these tanks left. So not a lot of wiggle room, but enough room to wiggle. So what we could do is we could just sit here, and then when we get closer, we could just make sure our periapsis gets as low as we can, and we'll take our speed measurement from there. Or the second option, which is probably the one that's going to get us the fastest speed, is when we get to about here, we start burning towards the sun, using up all the fuel we have left, and making sure we try and keep the periapsis as small as possible. So what we'll actually end up doing is we'll be using the sun to slingshot us. And I've never done a slingshot maneuver in Kerbal Space Program because they're really, really tricky if you're actually aiming for something. But since we're not aiming for anything other than the highest speed possible, we don't care where we're going to end up. We're going to go in, we'll go in fast, and then it will probably fly us out the solar system. But before we do that, we'll get as much science from the sun as we can. So, we'll go for option 1. And that is we're just going to sit here and do absolutely nothing until we get as close to the sun as we can. So, see you in a minute. Or in 2 years. Whatever. Alright, we are about 3/4 of the way back towards the sun. We've actually spent a long time doing this, but in fact 1,447 days. But we have a maneuver coming up because we want to get as close to the sun as we can. So right now, you can barely read that. Our periapsis is 864 kilometers, but I got a maneuver that brings us down to 15. And wait till you see this. We only have to make up 1.7 meters per second to get that. So we're not even going to fire up the engines. We're going to do this with RCS. See? A little burst in the RCS has already changed it. So let's hover over this. Oh, this is going to be really hard to see. No, that's better. And we can actually control RCS from here. So let's... Oh, hang on. I need the nav ball up to do that. There we go. Yep, there we go. So we're going to get down as close to the sun as we can. We might even, if we do this just right, we actually might... Oh! 1.5 kilometers from the surface of the sun. Let's change it around. Okay. Sure. Why not? We're gonna give it a try. Right. Let's get rid of that maneuver then. I never expected to get that close. But we're gonna be right next to the surface of the sun. Yeah. So the way I figure is we're gonna just sit and do nothing. If we survive getting that close to the sun, there is a certain distance from the sun that you will just die. I think it might be if you land on it though. We're gonna find out. But if we survive getting that close to the sun, we'll see how fast we're going, and then we're gonna do the long wait again, and then we get to about here, where that's when we're gonna use up all our fuel, and I might even try and use up all our RCS. Well, most of it, just to get as much speed as we can to try and do a slingshot. These guys are going to get slingshotted out of the system in any case. But, right, well, I'll see you when we're about to kiss the sun, essentially.